All right, we're entering lunch hour, I know. So I thought I'd try to make it very easy for you and do much more pictures than words and numbers. So let's jump right into it. So what do? That's what I did with Marley Spoon just in the last few weeks. So I took some pictures out of my account. We make it really easy for you to cook amazing stuff. So this is, as you can tell, saltimbocca, sugar snap peas, cauliflower mash, really nice dish. I also cooked the salmon quinoa bowl. So that's really the product, right? We think people don't cook well enough today. It's too hard to do. You spend too much time. It may not work in the end. So our product, you cook these amazing dishes in 30 minutes, and it always works. Why do we do this? Food and groceries is a huge vertical. Yeah? It's really the biggest of them all. If you think about travel and fashion and all these other verticals that have already gone online, they're smaller. And food is really not online. You know? So 3%, this is a global, a US number. There's some countries like the UK that may be a bit higher, but really mostly global averages around this. So we think we have a product to get people online and order food and groceries online. But let me clarify one thing that we get asked a lot about our business model and who do we compete with. And I tried with this slide, so see if you can follow. We don't really compete with the Uber Eats and the Deliveroo's of the world. So what we do, our core audience cooks every night at home, and that's mostly on weeknights. They may also use Uber Eats and Deliveroo and you name it, but mostly on the weekend. Yeah? So if you know those businesses, those takeaway delivery businesses, most of their business on the weekend, our people cook on the weeknights usually. So really, we're trying to solve the weeknight cooking problem. So if you think in terms of competition, our competition is what you see up top. It's more the grocery stores, the supermarkets. That's who we compete with, not so much Uber Eats and Deliveroo. So I think that's a common misunderstanding about what we do. Our core audience actually already cooks a few times a week. You think, hey, this makes cooking easy and maybe it converts people into cooking. It doesn't really. Like what we do is make it easier if you already cook. Most of our customers are in a committed relationship. A lot of them have kids, families. So these people have structured lives and already cook. So you may ask yourself now, competing with supermarkets sounds like a terrible idea. These are giant businesses, very slim margins in most countries. So how do we do that? Because if you order one of those dishes that I showed you before, it'll be the same price in the supermarket. So we match those giant supermarket chains on price today. How do we do this? Let me tell you about the dirty little secret of the supermarket business. The problem with old supermarket is that there's a lot of waste. So you know this, you can, on your way from here to your hotel or your home, you pass a countless number of supermarkets, and every shelf, everything is full of fresh products, which means at the end of the day, between 20 and 30% of that is just thrown out. So obviously they price that in. So the price of a tomato, a carrot, and so on is not actually more where it could be. We can match them because we don't have that waste. Our customers, they order 1 week ahead of time. We just buy what was ordered, and we don't have that waste. So this is how we compete with supermarkets, even though there are these giant corporations. And in a lot of countries, like in Germany here, it's really cutthroat competition. And to prove that turns into an interesting business, actually, is these unit economics. I think you may see other e-commerce businesses that pitch here today, and they may be from completely different verticals, but how at the end you can compare them is by comparing the unit economics. So what does it cost to buy one customer, which in our case, it's the gray bar, it's around 70 euros, net of vouchers. Then how long for that money to be back in my pocket, which in our case is right around 6 months, which is pretty fast compared to maybe what you hear from other e-commerce models today. And over the lifetime of the customer, what's my return? And in our case, that's 3x. So that's a pretty nice machine, no? Put $1 in, get $3 out over the course of the life of the customer. And this is average customer behavior. And people usually ask, well, isn't there a lot of people that churn? Like you acquire a lot of people with a voucher, then they try the box, and then a lot of them leave. It's true. A lot of them leave, but this has the churn in there, right? So this is an average cohort and how they return the money, because you really only need a small percentage of these people that you acquire to stay for a very long time, because an active customer with us, they order 3 times in a month, 3 out of 4 weeks. They order 3 times cooking, on average 7 portions. So they spend 50 euros with us every week. So that's a big basket size, probably the biggest basket size you hear from any e-commerce business here today in terms of a weekly purchase. Yeah? So that's what drives the unit economics, this core audience that's very loyal, that changes their life, that doesn't go to the supermarket anymore, that cooks better and easier with us. But let me show you another stat, because you may say, okay, he says he doesn't care about the churn, but we published these stats also in our most recent roadshow in Australia. And it again goes to this point where our business is all about retention and repeat purchases. So last year we had over 90% again of our revenue come from repeat customers. So it's not what there's this maybe misconception about, is that people try it once and they never do it again. So you can see on the right side that 16% of our revenue last year came from the first purchase that people make. But no, you can see how the numbers grow as we go up, and over 60, no, around 60% is 6 or more purchases. So these people are with us a very long time, and they drive the whole business and they drive the unit economics. So I would say that's a pretty cool business to be in a massive TAM. But let's talk about what's next. So what we believe in is we're already leading the market in terms of choice. Yeah? We have 20 recipes live in all countries that we operate in. You heard it, Europe, US, and Australia. And we're believing in pushing that even further. So what we want to do is not give 20 recipes to everyone, the same 20 recipes. It's a lot of choice, and most people find a lot of things there. But we want to give you a personalized menu, sort of build the Spotify of food, if you will. So what we're doing for that is we're currently building the software around this. We have tons of data around dish ratings that people give us every week after they cook. You have the switching behavior every week, the things that people choose, the things that people not choose. So we really need only 3, 4, 5 orders from you that we know you, and we probably can predict or know you better than you know yourself in terms of what you want to eat. But in our business, what's interesting is the right side of the page is also a hardware piece to this. No? This is not just some online business. We produce those boxes ourselves. No? Tens of thousands every week. That's not a trivial thing to do. So we actually came up with a new proprietary production technology for this to be able to not just do the 20 recipes that we do today, but much more. Yeah? To kind of have in the background, I don't know, 50, 60 recipes, and we show you your 10 or your 12 or maybe your 20, whatever you need. So that's kind of the next thing we're working on now. You can see the production technology went live this year. The software is being also worked on and rolled out as we speak. So that's pretty exciting to us to really get even more share of plate, yeah, so to speak. So even have more nights of customers who on average cook 3 nights with us. Maybe they cook 4 or 5 nights with us if we have a perfectly personalized menu. Let me finish with some recent news you may have heard. We're not in the press here that much since most of our business is US and Australia, but you may or may not have heard, so we had a big investment in Q1. Union Square Ventures, a big, reputable US venture capital firm that invested in us. They have a new fund that focuses on e-commerce. It's kind of their new thesis. And we're the first investment, so really proud to be chosen for that. It's a great partner to be with. And just last week, actually, this at the bottom of the pages came out, that we did an alliance with Woolworths. That's, if you don't know, the largest supermarket chain in Australia. And what's interesting is they chose to invest in us rather than do it themselves. Yeah? So this is a very different business. We're not a retailer, we're a manufacturer. I showed you the picture before. That's not what a supermarket chain does for their living. So they chose to participate via us rather than build their own meal kit. So I think that's a very strong signal. 1, that they understand customers want meal kits, and 2, that's very different from retailing what we do. So actually what's not planned as part of the alliance is putting meal kits on the supermarket shelves, yeah, because then we're back to the waste problem that I told you about in the first place. What makes the whole unit economic? So there's an interesting last picture that I can show you, and then you can really go to lunch or listen to Florian talk more about food. Is that, for example, Albertsons bought Plated in the US, which is a meal kit company in a big supermarket chain, and 3 months after they launched meal kits in the supermarket shelves, you tend to see this. Because again, you have the waste problem, and you cannot really forecast when people are where and what dishes they want. So putting them in the supermarket shelf is not the disruption, right? Circumventing the shelf is, and that's our core business model, and that's also why we will do this alliance with Woolworths quite differently to how other supermarket and meal kit companies have done it. That's all I had.